welcome back to Book Club Preview. I'm Michael, and today we're looking at The Hobbit, Chapter 8, Flies and Spiders. And it starts off simply with Bilbo and the dwarves going into the forest. And this forest is dark and thick, a lot like this picture I'm showing. The trees are so tall, so big, so full that the sunlight can't get down very easily. And sometimes there'd be a beam coming down. And they're just walking through this forest. During the daytime, it's not that bad. It's not good. But at nighttime, there are eyes everywhere. Big green eyes, small blue eyes, giant white eyes that look like bug eyes. And they would look at them on the road and blink and then be gone and then appear somewhere else. And when you're on guard duty, you just see all those eyes, from different places. They're not everywhere like the stars, but probably enough to freak you out. They try to start a fire and have some lanterns to kind of shine some light into the forest, but then hundreds of giant moths, like the side of your hand, would come flying to the fire and flying by your ears, and so they quit doing that. They're going through the forest for days. Their food is getting low. They're just walking on the trail, not leaving the trail. They get to the enchanted stream that Bjorn tells them about. They get a boat and they end up going across. And as Bumbor, I think that's the big dwarf's name, Bumber. As Bumber's getting out of the boat, a huge elk comes jumping in and jumps across the lake or the stream. Thorin shoots an arrow at him, but Bumber falls into the river, and they end up saving him, and he's just asleep. He's actually asleep for like 3 days, and they just carry him, right? So they take turns carrying Bumber and his things after that. So they're just going down the forest. Endless forest. Eventually, they ask Bilbo to climb a tree. He climbs way up there. He gets to the top, and there's butterflies everywhere. They're dark black butterflies, but there's butterflies, there's sunlight. He's kind of blinking, but he just sees forest and forest and forest. Part of the reason is because he's in a valley. So even though, let me see here. Not that one. So they're kind of in a valley. So they're walking through the forest. And maybe they're actually like right here, okay? So Bilbo gets in the tree, and all he sees is trees all around. So he doesn't actually see that they're almost here at the end because this valley, they've been going down into it. So it looks like just endless forest. So when he gets down, he tells the dwarves that, man, the forest goes on forever. They're really disappointed, and there's nothing else they can do, so they keep going. Bumber wakes up, and he says, man, I was having this dream. There was this elf festival, and there was food everywhere. And he's talking about food, and everyone's getting hungry, and they're like, shut up, be quiet, don't talk about food. And he starts crying because he woke up from such a wonderful dream. And then as they keep going, they hear some sound, and they find out that there's like some torchlight in the forest. They don't want to leave the path, but eventually they do. And they end up finding a elven festival, which when they go say, hello, poof, the elves disappear and the lights turn off. And then it's completely dark and they can't find each other. And then that happens again. And then it happens a third time. And on the third time, everyone's asleep. And Bilbo's kind of falling asleep, and he feels something on his legs, and he hears I think he actually hears something too, and he kind of looks around, and there's a giant spider spinning a web around him. He freaks out. He gets out his sword, which he ends up naming Sting because he stings that spider. He kills it and frees himself. And then he looks around for the dwarves. He can't find them. He finally finds them in a forest, hanging down in these sacks of spider traps, and there's hundreds of spiders all around, and they're like, oh, when should we eat these guys? Should we let their juice soften a little bit? Should we kill them now? They're talking. Bilbo realizes he needs to save them. He takes a rock, and he's really good at throwing rocks. He can hit a rabbit. He can hit a squirrel. He can hit a bird. And he takes this rock and he throws it at the spider that's moving closest to the dwarves, and he hits it on the head, and he goes, and curls up and is dead. All the other spiders start looking around, freaking out. Another rock goes, the spider falls down dead. He's wearing his ring, so they can't see him, but they can see where the rocks are coming from. So they try to capture him, and they miss him because he's smart. He's running around, he's moving. And then he starts yelling at them. Addercop, and he has another name. These are just like spider names, other names of spiders. And they get angry at him. They start chasing him. He leads them away from the dwarves. He sneaks back, and he starts freeing the dwarves. And the dwarves start freeing each other. The spiders come back. They're battling. They're fighting. And eventually, Bilbo says, okay, you guys run away, and I'm gonna lead them away. And so they start running. Bilbo leads the spiders away again. He ends up hiding again, goes back to the dwarves. They're running away. And finally, they make it to one of the glades that they had found where the elves were. I mean, all the lights and elves are gone, but there's still some magic there that the spiders don't like, and so they go away. Phew! They're safe. And the dwarves are like, dang, Bilbo, you saved us. Like, you got some mad skills. Mad means awesome, great. And Bilbo tells them about the ring, and they start to understand things. Especially Balin, I think, who Bilbo sneaked past, and he's like, oh, he had an invisible ring. That's why he sneaked past me. And he's just laughing. And so they really respect him for what he did. The chapter ends with a little info about Thorin, because 12 of the dwarves are found, and Bilbo, that's 13. One is missing, and that's Thorin. Thorin was actually captured by the wood elves that were actually in that glade. So it wasn't just an illusion, there are actually elves in there, and there was real food in there. And they captured Thorin, and they don't treat him very well, but they treat him better than the goblins did. They still put him in prison because he wouldn't give them any answers, but they give him food and bread. And so he's actually at least being fed, and he's safe. And that's kind of how that chapter ends. Vocabulary. Gloomy means scary, dark. Seldom, not often. Inquisitive is like curious, curiosity. Whisking off, carrying away. Suffocating, suffocating. And I think the forest felt suffocating because it's just dark and the trees are so thick and you feel closed in. Lamenting is like this sadness, of feeling or having this sadness. Straggle is to kind of like wander, to walk without a direction or plan or goal. Disquieting is troubling. If you think about, sometimes there should be quiet. Okay, like you're in the forest at night. If you don't hear any sound, that's kind of nice. But then if you hear a okay, it kind of disrupts the quiet in a not good way. That's disquieting, troubling. Tuppence is a kind of British word for like 2 pennies. And in England, I don't think they have pennies. They have, well, maybe they do have like British pennies, not American pennies. But they would call them 2 pennies, but it just came tuppence. And so that just means like worthless, nothing important. I don't care 2 tuppence about your opinion, maybe someone will say. The dwarf said something like that. But just meaning it's not valuable. Stoop is to bend down. And infuriate is to make angry. Bilbo infuriated the spiders. That leaves us with our discussion question, which is, how would you save the dwarves? If you were Bilbo, you had the magic ring, you had an awesome sword, and your friends would have been captured by spiders. Would you? Would you save the dwarves, or would you take off? What would you do, and how would you do things differently? Of course, please make your own discussion question. That is all the time that we have for today, but thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Book Club Preview. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.